Hi everybody and welcome back. My name is Tristan and it's been a while. But I really wanted to talk about the Goblin conspiracy happening with ChatGPT. Kind of explain where this came from, why it's funny, and some real world applications for what's actually going on. So what happened was a new version of Codex came out and some developers were going through the system prompt. And the system prompt is kind of like the instructions given to the AI before you actually start prompting it. It's kind of like ChatGPT's instructions, their prompt that is layered on top of, beneath your prompt. It's really interesting going through this because you kind of see how certain problems were solved and how they get the AI to act in certain ways. And as they're going through this and they found something really interesting, there is a prompt in there telling the AI specifically, hey, don't talk about goblins, don't talk about gremlins, don't talk about these other mystical, fantastic creatures. It is in there twice. They accidentally copied it. And people thought that was kind of weird. And it got to the point where Sam Altman, who is the current acting CEO of OpenAI, actually had to release a blog post explaining why this particular part of the prompt was in there. And essentially what happened was there was a personality, persona set up inside of ChatGPT that was designed to be more nerdy, right? And if you think nerdy stuff, you think video games, you think Dungeons and Dragons. And a common element to those types of media are goblins and gremlins and those kinds of things. And then you also have stuff like code goblins and going goblin mode, those kinds of things. And that was fine. That was a good thing. That was enjoyable. It kind of made the chats a little bit more fun. That's where the problem was actually introduced. Because then what happens is when you have that next version of ChatGPT, then it's looking at the previous conversations and it's like, okay, cool. So I have this entire list of conversations. I have these questions were asked. These are the answers I gave, and people rated these answers higher than others, or these answers had more dynamic responses. They had more unique responses, and those answers tend to have the word gremlin in them or goblin in them. And so when it started making that next version of ChatGPT, because it's trained on its previous data, right? So it started making that next version. It's like, okay, these particular responses actually performed well, and so we're going to include more goblin stuff. We're going to include more gremlin stuff. And then the next version of ChatGPT saw that again, and it compounded that again and again. And that started with ChatGPT 5.1, and then we had 5.2, and then 5.3, and then 5.4, and finally where we are today, 5.5. And so the number of instances of chats where a goblin or a gremlin were mentioned started to go up. And again, they were going up exponentially, until eventually you could potentially have a version of ChatGPT that's just like Goblin GPT, where all the answers are going to be goblin, right? It's only going to respond with the word goblin or gremlin or something like that, theoretically speaking. Now, going back and retraining the AI, pulling all those particular parts of those conversations out, that would have been a pain in the butt. It would have cost a ton of money. It would have had huge delays. It was not something they could just do, right? And so the way that they kind of counteracted the impact of goblins and gremlins getting these higher rewards was simply to add an extra instruction in the system prompt saying, hey, don't talk about goblins or gremlins unless the user specifically mentions them. And that's led us to where we are today, where that instruction was found. People started asking questions, and we had to kind of figure out what was actually going on. Honestly, I think the whole thing's hilarious. I actually went through my chat history and I checked. Goblin showed up 17 times, gremlin showed up 10 times. So this was an actual thing. And then I could actually see where those instances started to pick up more and more and more. And I have noticed as I've been using Codex a lot more that the instances of goblin references have actually still gotten up quite a bit. I just recently updated that to 5.5, still using 5.4 a little bit more just for the projects that I've been working on. But the goblin references have been noticeable. Now, one final little bit of information that's actually kind of interesting about this is that this is not something unique to ChatGPT. It's not something unique to these sort of LLM models, okay? This can actually happen on a lot of different platforms. So, for example, have you noticed that if you go onto Facebook and if you watch a video about puppies, or if you mention puppies or something like that, suddenly you're going to start seeing a lot more puppies showing up in your feed. If you go to YouTube and you search for puppies again, right? And then as you watch a couple of videos about puppies, say you're just in a puppy mood and you want to watch a couple of videos about puppies. Now all of a sudden all the videos that you're going to see on your feed are puppy related, okay? And it's actually the exact same thing that's happening when you have a signal that's going into these machine models, right? Because all these things run on algorithms or run on very, very simple versions of AI. then again, it's going to see that signal and say, okay, videos with puppies, this puppy tag, these are performing really well. We're going to show them more of these things because we want the viewer to see more of this type of videos, because these are the videos that they're engaging with. The more you engage with the video, the more watch time that video gets, the more ads they get to show, the more money YouTube makes, the more money Facebook makes, and more money, the more money everybody else makes. And you'll actually notice after you watch this video, you're probably going to see a couple more of my videos pop up on your recommendation feeds, on your homepage and stuff. And again, it's the exact same thing. They're going to say, hey, you have watched Tristan's video here all the way through to the end. There's a good chance you'd want to watch another one of his videos, which I highly recommend that you do. In the meantime, if you want to see some more examples of this actually happening and kind of see some of the science and the math and like the programming and everything that goes into it, there's another channel that I'd highly recommend that you check out. It's called Code Bullet. I'm going to leave a link to that here in the description. He has a couple of videos where he's like teaching an AI how to walk, teaching an AI how to play a video game, and you can actually see where these little quirks that happen as the AIs are being trained, as they're learning, like they'll see one thing kind of performed a little bit better, and then all of a sudden all the AIs that follow that also have this same trait, or like they all kind of follow that same path. And it's really fun to watch, and like it's just interesting to kind of see the developer side of that rather than just me and my silly slideshows. So I am curious, have you seen gremlins or goblins showing up in your ChatGPT conversations more often in the last couple weeks, months? And if so, let me know in the comments. Then also, when YouTube recommends my next videos to you, make sure you go and watch them, because that's how I'm going to grow this channel. That would be awesome. Bye!